All right, good evening and welcome to tonight's Finance Committee meeting. Tonight's Monday, March 31st. And this is one of our final meetings as the Finance Committee as we look to finalize our recommendation to send to the full board on for the April 10th meeting. So without anything else, I'm going to jump right in. The first item that we have on the agenda for this evening is public comment. And we do have some public here this evening. So if either of you would like to say anything, now's a great time. And this is being broadcast and recorded. So there's a microphone here you can use, or I can hand you this too, and you can use this, whichever. But we do want to have this so that people at home can hear what you say.
Thank you. My name is William Knight from Harpswell. Dear Budget Committee, I hope this message finds you well. My husband and I, this is from my wife, recently received an email from Anita regarding the upcoming kindergarten class arrangements and wanted to express our concerns surrounding the situation. It is disappointing to see that a decision seems to have been made without a significant community input, especially considering the considerable financial contribution that Harpswell taxpayers make to the MSAD 75 budget, almost 1/3. It raises a troubling question. Why must Harpswell families bear the brunt of these decisions when we significantly invest in the education system? We've observed that other schools within the district, such as BSC and WCS, maintain smaller classroom sizes with 15 to 14 students per class, while WES operates with 14 in each class across 3 classrooms. This trend of smaller classes is one of the primary reasons that families choose to relocate to Harpswell. It fosters an environment where personalized attention can help students thrive. However, we are concerned that the recent trends towards reducing the number of teachers and increasing reliance on aides could jeopardize the learning capabilities and experience of our students. The unique strengths of our small school environments are at risk, and we fear that this could lead to diminished education outcomes for our children. Though we do recognize the instructional assistance provided to our students through Title I staff, it is not adequate replacement of additional classroom teachers. Title I is determined on a year-to-year basis and is not guaranteed. Using it as a justification for not obtaining an additional classroom teacher is already large and vulnerable class is by no means best practice. We are thankful for Beth Parmelo and Katie Wallace for their expertise with our students, yet framing it that we now have a full-time paraprofessional dedicated to that classroom is not going above and beyond. It is standard practice for kindergarten and lower grade classes throughout the state. Most kindergarten classes have a dedicated paraprofessional by default, not because it is deemed necessary. We do not feel that we are asking for too much when requesting a moderately sized classroom for our students. From SY 21 to current, each incoming kindergarten class was a minimum of 21 students, including the current class. Each year prior to the current year, the class is split in two. What was the decision-making process to not split the class this year? Last year, the kindergarten class had 32 students, and while experienced a slight decrease to 22 this year, we are now projecting that the number could raise over to 30 students in the upcoming fall. This increased trend in enrollment signals a clear need for additional staffing as the current single teacher model for each grade level is becoming increasingly unsustainable. We urge the committee to reconsider the implication of these decisions and explore ways to uphold the quality of education that Harpswell has long been known for. We believe that every child deserves the best possible learning environment. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We look forward to engaging in further discussions and hope our voices will be heard. Warm regards, Jessica and Will Knight.
Thank you, Will. All right, so with that, do we have any comments or anything, or before we move into the next agenda item?
Any comments about that, but I see some things on this that I have a question about,
Yeah,
but I don't know if
Get to
that's the
that.
next agenda item.
we can get to that. Yeah, yes. It is sort of the agenda item
Is that
too.
budget updates?
Updates,
Okay.
yes. So, I think as we work through here, we'll be able to, consider any of the feedback that we had to and talk about it as the meeting rolls on, so,
Well, I do actually have a question.
yeah.
Did we get an updated kindergarten registration number?
How about, yeah, one more thing? There you go.
So for my children's nursery school, when they sign up, you don't have to put your immunizations and your like your address or anything in right away to be able to push your enrollment through. So I was thinking that maybe you guys could adjust it to make it so that someone could fill it out and then say, hey, I'll get the immunizations in before the school year starts. But some people have like August birthdays or July birthdays, so they can't get the updated immunization in, and you can't put your application through until those are put in. So people probably don't think like, hey, I could just put one in that I have, even though it's not updated correctly, and then they'll see that, and then they'll say like, hey, you're gonna have to get an updated one. But a lot of people I feel like think, and I've heard say like, oh, I don't have all the information. And I'm like, just push it through, but you can't push it through unless you have something scanned in. Even if it's like a blank paper or something, you could put in there and then push it through, but that's something that,
Yeah, they can actually put their names in, and we have some started. So if they just start the application, it comes to us. Yep. So that is available for that. Right, but it says, it shows us that it's started, so that would be helpful too. Yeah.
we get back to them. Hey, why isn't it
But
finished?
yes, the people that handle the registrations take care of that. Yep.
Or nobody.
Thank you. All right, so rolling into the spreadsheet now, we'll go through this and then we can address any new things and have discussion about it if there's any further thoughts and any additions, reductions since our meeting last week. So Evan, I'm going to hand it to you to talk through the new additions and anything else. Sorry, I don't mean to limit you.
Yeah, thank you. So you can see that there are 3 things on here that I have added. I will say that they were already baked into the numbers that I've been presenting. I just hadn't pulled them out. But for transparency, I felt like it was important to list them on here because of the process we went through last week. The first one being 2 para FLS positions up to 35 hours. So that is 2 paras at the high school going from 30 hours to 35 hours. And that is the calculation of how much extra it's going to cost, which is just shy of 10 grand.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Yep.
That's also the negotiated contract that we were going to increase and support staff contract by 2 paras to 35 hours, just so you're aware of that.
In addition, there was a request from technology to put money aside for Chromebooks for all board members. I think this is part of the transition to onboard. And I wanted to make sure that that was flagged instead of just rolled up into the technology line. I wanted to make sure it was pulled out so everyone could see it. The estimated cost for that is $8,000.
That was in the technology number we've looked at and, to some extent approved, but not final.
Correct.
Okay.
And then finally, for transparency as well, in the instructional and curriculum side of the budget, I had $20,000 set aside for an AI instructional platform, and also wanted to pull that out so that it could be part of the discussion.
Is that the one that we just approved through the curriculum committee?
Yes.
And that would be the one consistent with the new AI policy would be to be training the staff.
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks for the clarity in pulling these out. I think it's important that we do acknowledge them on separate lines like this so that we're all on the same page and so I appreciate that. Was there anything else that you added or removed from this document? Or maybe we'll, if not, we'll take a minute to talk about it.
Yeah, I would want to give some updated numbers. So the dental insurance rate, we got the final number last week after our meeting. Got that Tuesday morning, of course. But I budgeted 4% and our rate increase is 4.8%. So that's a change of $1,336. Not too significant, but still worth talking about. In addition, I only looked at one of our phone vendors when I was budgeting for the telephone lines. So I had to go back and originally I only had budgeted for the contract, which is the maintenance of the phone lines. It doesn't actually account for how much we actually use our phones. So that was a lift of $40,000. There are reductions, I promise. And then as well, I had missed budgeting for substitute teachers at Mount Ararat High School, which last year we budgeted $84,000. I also put that same number back in. The good news is that I was able to relook at the way that we had budgeted Social Security, which was something that we flagged early on in the maintenance of effort process. And I was able to pull that number down by $44,000 because it was inaccurately budgeted. So the total impact is instead of a 4.8% increase over last year, we're looking at 4.88.
Great, thank you. So with that, I think it's, if nothing else, I'd like to come back to this to approve, thumbs up, thumbs down on the additional items, but would open it up for further discussion. So not going right to a straw poll, but questions, comments, thoughts, anybody may have.
And I'm also happy to toggle over to my other spreadsheet so we can see the how that all rolls.
Yeah, Evan was able to bring the big monster spreadsheet today so we can see live impacts of any decisions we make tonight and at the end of the meeting have a number that we all understand. Yep.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, looking at the difference, updated spreadsheet, the total versus what it was like last week, it looks like that 0.08% is around $41,000 increase total, which is not, as an absolute number, as bad as it might sound.
Correct. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
Does the sheet keep going down, like what we can see on the screen?
Oh, yes. This is where we left it last week. This number for kindergarten / pre-K at Harpswell is not currently in that budget because we have two of them set aside. We have the one that we all voted on last week with a yes. And then I did not put this one into the lines yet. I figured we could do that together to see the impact today.
Okay.
For transparency's sake.
Is March 31st. Did we hear anything from the auditor?
We are getting close with our audit. They haven't delivered the final report to us yet. So we have prepared one last final extension. We're hoping it'll only be one more month. And that's where we stand. We're getting close though.
We have had some communication with our attorney as well regarding the audit, so we can talk about that tomorrow if you need to, so, yeah.
I also expect our health insurance rates to come in before April 11th. I got communication about that on Tuesday as well of last week, and they said that they are going to deliver all health insurance increase notices by April 11th to all school districts. They said it could be as low as 3% and as high as 14%. So us budgeting at 8% is right there in the middle.
Meeting's the 10th, right?
It's the 10th.
Of course it is. I also laughed at that.
Yes, we could get it a day early.
What do you have in there? Again, can you remind us what? I apologize if you just said it. I was trying to find it in my calendar on my computer and missed it, but the number, the percent that's in there for,
It's 8%.
it's 8 that's in there.
Yep.
Okay, so we're probably, we
Don't.
may be good, we may not be. Okay.
Yep. Of course, all that information came on Tuesday, as it always does.
How big of a number is the, at 8%? If you want to look at your ginormous monster sheet.
Yeah, let
Do
me
you have
pull
that
it up.
number? Just so we can kind of eyeball what it might be,
Yeah, what's 1% mean either direction?
right? Or if it was 14%, how much more that would be?
So at an 8% increase, health insurance is $7.8 million. If we want to do a 9% increase over last year, you're looking at another $16,000.
116, is it?
Sorry, 116, thank you.
It's like 550 or 540. It's like another percent, almost on the budget impact, just a little less.
Yep, that's at 14%.
Hmm.
I don't think we can, no.
Okay,
And that makes it hard to budget. When you're playing with the $500,000, it's kind of difficult.
But happy to go back into any other lines that we want to look through.
why don't we go back to the spreadsheet and try to work our way through that and see if, it'll give us all time to think if we have an opinion on approaching the health insurance any differently. Because we do want to leave with a recommendation this evening. To the best of our ability. And I believe that that vote on the 10th is important because of notifications and printing and that the full board vote on the 10th can't really be delayed. That's a hard date. Yeah. Okay, so with Evan's info that these numbers were in the budget, we're just pulling them out so we see them and I guess we can walk through them and if anybody wants to talk about it, let's talk, but I'll just the additional hours for 2 paras from 30 to 35 hours at MTA. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. Chromebooks for board members. This was in the thing. We've had some conversations. I've gone back and forth on this one. I'll share now that, we've been sort of doing it without and talking with Nick, and I know Hudson's perspective, I think prior was that there's consistency is very valuable in this, especially our first year or two into it. So, and hearing that the numbers that we've been looking at before now included this, so that wouldn't be additional. That has some impact on my thinking.
How many, again, does the 8,000 cover? How many books?
Yeah.
Chromebooks? 14. And is that one for each of us? Is there a way, and I feel silly even suggesting this because I feel like it's such a minuscule number in the grand scheme of it, but I know there's a good portion of us that have our own. And so could we potentially half that and say have some on deck if needed for those that don't, or get a poll of how many is left? Like, is there a way we could cut that just a smidge, but again, minuscule in the grand scheme of it?
We'll lean to you to answer. Hudson.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a mistake. I think we need to assume a board member is not, is a volunteer, more or less, and shouldn't be expected to provide a potentially expensive laptop as part of their service. So I think as a district, we need to provide board members what they need to do their jobs. And if we're moving in a digital direction, I think we need to be prepared to give them what they need. And it's $570 a board member. It's not a large lift and they'll last many years. So I hear where you're coming from. But I think that we need to, if we're going to take the work that we do seriously, we need to treat it as a serious task and support it accordingly, is my thoughts at least.
Yeah.
I think this goes without saying, but I assume there aren't some old ones lying around that we could use. There's none.
When I can say I was talking with Nick, is sort of the idea of trying to give everybody consistency to make, Nick's support of us consistent and easy. And so just buying, these aren't, high-end Chromebooks. These are sort of middle of the pack pricing with, a large enough screen for us to do our work, I think is the goal here.
If you have thoughts and you're not on the committee, feel free to speak.
This is riffing a little bit on Holly's idea, but if there are current board members who are getting by without a board issued laptop, fully recognizing that it would be better for a whole host of reasons to get everybody on a consistent technology, and recognizing that we may have current or potentially future board members who may join over the course of the next year who don't have access to technology, is there any possibility of phasing in over a couple of years so that there was some sort of placeholder that would enable purchase of whatever the half number is? I guess you said 14, so 7 in 1 year, anticipating that you'd add a second cache of them in a subsequent year. I can imagine the school district must always be purchasing laptops for various staff needs or instructional needs. And that just would allow the expenditure to be smoothed over time. I'd be the biggest advocate for school board members should just use the tool that is provided by the district. And I myself, as a person who manages multiple laptops already in my personal and professional life, regret having potentially another one to have to be responsible for. But my own personal picadillo should not drive board policy.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Holly.
It's okay. I'll just echo similar sentiments, and the phasing idea, again, I'm not saying that we should not and have that available, but I recognize that some of us already have our own things that have worked well for us. And so maybe it's a phase-in process, so that way we can lessen the kind of overarching budgetary need of it, but also recognizing the aspect of people have that already and they could use their own and things like that. So yeah, not fully on board for that, but some variation of it.
Are there, Heidi, and I don't know that you'd be aware, or any efficiencies with information sharing or saving or retrieval or anything with these devices being the same? Nothing comes to mind, so I'm not thinking of anything. I'm just trying to understand if any additional benefits that we haven't thought of. And I guess in my head, like a FOIA or something, is there any kind of information or requests or things that would come in that would be
I mean, if there
expedient
is,
to have
if
something
you've
like
used
this?
your email is
The same no matter
discoverable.
what.
And then I think when we talked about this, also the mechanisms to fix them if something goes wrong and you have accessibility to them. We spoke about that quite a bit last year, where your own personal, our tech department can't help you with that. That's one reason, and I think Hudson has some more thoughts. I don't know.
I was just going to say, thinking about our, approaches to device in general, right? If we're using a school provided device, it doesn't have our iMessage on it. It doesn't have your personal email on it. It doesn't have your work email on it. It's a work device for the work that we do.
All right. So I would feel like we're at a point to take a thumbs up or thumbs down and see how people feel about this, and go from there. So, all right, all those or you can vote if you're in favor, up, keeping it like it is with the 8, or removing it with the thumbs down. Or adjust, excuse me, thumb sideways, no. Or, yeah, removing or adjusting. I got you. Yeah, yep.
I'm stuck because I can see it both ways.
If you want help getting through it, I can offer you that. I think we've had 3 votes for yes, and with 5. Either way you go, it's decided, so you don't have to decide if that's helpful. If you want to go on the record, you are welcome to, and I'm not trying to prevent that. I'm just trying to give you the easy way out.
I would offer or suggest that you could call it out at the full board meeting,
Yep.
and then
For sure.
you
Yep.
could say the committee recommended it, but it was not unanimous, and board wants to.
And I think part of what this does in capturing it here too, Evan, again, thanks, is it helps with the information that goes out for that board meeting. Everybody will receive this file and be able to see what the additions are. So that will help as well. So I think we can call that a yes for now. And then the instructional AI platform.
We approved the curriculum, so I feel like kind of a
We
no-brainer.
need to.
Not take it out.
Yeah, in effect, yeah, then we're putting it on this line and we've approved it. So, and if, okay. Okay, all right, so now do you have the ability to put those into your spreadsheet?
These are all,
They're
they're
in there.
already in
Right,
there.
Thank you.
Yep. The only thing that's not in there
The one, yeah.
is this one down here.
So I think that based on the discussion we had last week, we want that in there. So would it be, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you can put that in, we'll see what happens with the 4.88. Yeah,
Predict it's about 0.15%.
I was gonna say it's gonna be,
Oh, sorry. Because everyone's watching me.
you didn't have to put it up on the screen if too, then there's all kinds of pressure on you. But you're brave here, buddy.
I'll take it down and then I'll add it in. All right, I'll give you the before view and then we can look at it. So the summary shows 4.88 currently, 57,525. And just wait 15 seconds.
The bird in the gym.
Yeah, I hear.
5.03. So I would say that that's probably the most accurate view on where we stand at the moment. Is everybody okay with, not agreeing to that, but just that feels like the accurate number at the moment? So then I think that it's worth a discussion based on the feedback we've received from Harpswell. The, the feedback this evening, but also from the I guess it was primarily family members or the letters that we received from everybody at the meeting, but then additional ones after, speaking to the same thing and, say based on that feedback from the community, we owe that one final discussion.
Yeah.
We did, yeah, totally. So I think that's part of what we talked through, and if we want any more clarity from Heidi on the approach or anybody to share thoughts. Yep.
So what is our minimum class size, 11?
$16 to 1, $18 to 1, and maximum is 14.
14
So
was
that's
the
the
minimum.
minimum.
Yeah, average class size is 16.1, maximum class size is 18.1, and the minimum class size is 14 for one kindergarten.
And again, just for clarity, those are averages.
Average.
There will be deviations.
And then for 1 to 3, it's 18 to 1 optimal average class size, 20 to 1 maximum, and 14 to 1 minimum.
No, I don't. I'm good. We just did the pre-K. The pre. Okay. Yeah, I guess I would say the position is in the budget. We all recognize we might need it, but we don't know, don't pull the trigger and we have numbers for
Right.
final numbers.
I think there might be a little confusion as well that what the Knights are, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they're asking for another first grade teacher as opposed to another kindergarten teacher. Anita asked for another kindergarten teacher in the budget. They're kindergarten or pre-K, and I believe that they want, that they're looking for another first grade teacher. Is that right? We were not, that was not presented to me as a need at the budget presentations. But since they've come, but also we have a plan based on to reduce the numbers. So I think I've shared that information with you.
Yep.
We'll
And
have
the
a first
planning,
grade.
the blended or mixed classroom.
Yes, correct.
Heidi, repeat, I'm sorry to ask this question again, because I know we went over it a lot last week, but would we be doing the blended classroom even with the addition of that second teacher, or can you say at this juncture?
If we do not have enough, so there's a couple of things. By adding the extra position, I'm pointing, but it's not up there. By adding the extra position as a pre-K or K, there's 2 positions that you're adding. So it's dependent on the numbers of students that we have for kindergarten coming in. Right now we have 18 registered. Then the kindergarten, the first grade class is still at 22, possibly 23. We don't know those numbers quite yet, depending on who moves in, who moves out. Then we have a second grade class, and then we have a mixed multi-age class, all with the average of 17 in each class, if all of those numbers are there. So there's different things that could happen. We do have the Title I position that if we needed to switch that position to a classroom teacher, we could do that depending on the needs, but we just don't know all those answers quite yet, but we have the staff to be able to do that. Well, for second grade,
I know you do. I didn't hear it.
currently the second grade is at let's see, hold on, I'm sorry. Currently grade 1 in Harpswell there's two grade ones. One is at 11 and one is at 14. And then we have a grade 2 that both are currently, the grade 2 in Harpswell is at, oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong year. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, right this year, grade 1, we have 2 classes of 15. Grade 2, we have a class of 18. And grade 3 is 17. This year. And I have to,
Sorry.
yep,
It's 30 this year. So we started talking about kindergarten 18 registered for next year.
yep,
First grade 22. And
for next year.
for next year, and second grade next year would be 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just, I also have a projection for 25, 26, but I got to open up and find that one. So I'll come back to it, what the projections are.
And right now, the proposal is a pre-K teacher, a second, or we have one kindergarten teacher, a second potential kindergarten or pre-K teacher, depending on the need. Current need indicates one, but it's close, and it sounds like there may be significantly more folks coming or kids coming, which would push us to likely make that decision to say that's a second kindergarten teacher for next year. And then the proposal currently is first and second grade combining for three mixed rooms. One that was first, one that was second, and one that was mixed, kind of, was that, if I, for the, okay. One mixed one, that's, yeah. Okay.
I'm just trying to find that 25.
Your superintendent's budget on slide 12, I think you have that information, if that's will help you finding that.
Hello.
That's what I got.
Okay, thank you. On slide 12.
Want me to project it too, you know?
Oh, right there. Okay, yeah, thank you. There it is. Okay, so for 25, 26, the projection then for grade 1 is 22. The projection for grade 2 is 19, and then the projection for grade 3. What's that?
29.
Oh, I'm sorry, 29. And for grade 3 is 18. Our projections, but we have staff to be able to, I mean, I'm sure always that adding extra is always nice, but I question whether or not is it necessary? And I will just leave you with that.
And can I add one more, just clarity piece for it? Is that then we also have a full-time Title I paraprofessional that, or a full-time teacher, it's a Title I teacher?
We currently have a full-time Title I and a half-time Title I professional teachers. Both are certified to teach classes.
That can be used at the building administrator.
It's a school-
Discretion in working with
Right,
you.
it's a school-wide school, and that means they can be used however is needed to reduce class sizes if necessary. We also have a full-time ed tech that supports the students, and that's been in the budget for a long time. A general ed tech that will work with kindergarten students attached to the kindergarten class. We did that a couple of years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And am I correct that, just to make sure I understood, that Anita Hopkins has not requested additional first or second grade support at this time? She only requested kindergarten and pre-K support?
Correct. She did not request the pre-K support. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, the board added that anyway, but
Yeah.
it was kindergarten, which she
Yes.
identified as the need for support for
At the
next year.
time of the budget development, correct.
Great, thank you.
Do we have current numbers for pre-K for Harpswell?
We have 56 pre-K students registered across the district, and I have not looked today to see how many are in each location. Hold on a minute, and I might be able to tell us. So right now in Harpswell, we have 5 students that are registered for pre-K.
And just to clarify, because I'm getting really confused. We already said yes in the bigger budget to a pre-K / kindergarten, right?
Yep.
This is a secondary to that.
Mhm,
And we have currently 5 pre-K students,
mhm.
and we're looking at, where are we at for kindergarten?
Kindergarten is registered at 18.
18, you had said, right? Okay.
Yeah, and even though there are only 5 in Harpswell, we have 59 across the district. With that number, with only 4, we would have to spread some students out. So we may
Gotcha.
have some students that would actually attend Harpswell as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, correct. Oh,
Saying that other additional children other schools there are slots.
they could be. Yeah, they could be. Yeah. We do that currently when we have students we have a pre-K at Williams Cone School, and we have a pre-K at Bowdoin, and students from Bowdenham and Topsom will go to Bowdoin. Some kids will go to Topsom. We have students from Harpswell that go to Williams Cone, so it works. We can shuffle them around as we need to. Yes, there are students.
So I think and correct me if I'm wrong, we've gotten clarity from Heidi on her position and what's in the budget and how it's looking to allocate. Are there any thoughts? Does anybody have any further questions, clarity, adjustments to propose? Yep.
So I just want to, I know we've got some members of the public who are interested in an outcome, and I want to sort of get an idea of what we're talking about. So the current projected enrollment, what that ideal would be, and if I'm getting this wrong, please correct me, would be with, you said we have 18 enrolled for kindergarten at the moment? And knowing that that could change. Right now, that would mean 2 classes of 9. Their request is then to get 2 classes of 11 at grade 1, and we would have 2 classes of 15 at grade 2. That's sort of what the request that I'm hearing is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying to be critical, but I would also point out that's a long trend of below the minimum numbers, right? And after a long trend, it's not unreasonable to reassess. Yeah. No, I totally get it. You're advocating for your kids. That's your job.
Well, it's here, so, and, with the looks of the house. The numbers. It's nice to have only one teacher for each grade for a small school, but it's not going to be working like this. Each year, the classes are getting larger. I just don't know why our class has to be.
Well, it's not punishment. And I would point out that the Bowdoin Community School has the split grade 1-2 assignment with slightly different class numbers, but sort of essentially what's being proposed, at least at the time being, for Harpswell. So there's precedent in our district now to take that approach.
I would quickly add too, I think there's precedence at that school.
Yeah, it looks like 2 years ago we did that at
And
Harpswell as
my
well.
kids have, 2 of the 3 had similar situations.
And I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just trying to get an understanding.
She's in first grade and for 20 years, and I thought it was a larger class. And, you know, as you bring in more numbers, it gets tricky. I mean, I'm coaching a basketball team of pre-K and kindergarten right now. We have 16 kids and there's 4 coaches. And today was nuts, like just trying to keep them all because they're little. They're 22 in the class right now with Ms. Carla. Yes, there is a Title I helper that comes in during instructional time. Ms. Wallace is in there as well. But we had 4 people there. Still, pretty good. So they're like, if one of the kids is messing around or on the sideline saying, hey, you need to, we're not in class to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Solve that. Bring additional, generate additional funding, but that's not going to solve the current issue now.
I'm saying that we bring in others, like vote in or vote in with parcel school. Why aren't we able to take care of our parcels first? And then, these other classes take us along. The other schools.
Well, we are a district, right? We don't break it up like that. We are a community of communities.
So that was the teacher for the pre-K.
They're both women.
So
Yeah, so we have a son that's in kindergarten right now. We have a daughter. So he's gonna be going to university.
I think what, suggested was the 2, one's going to be a pre-K. The other is secondary.
Yeah.
So we're still going to split. Have 1 first grade, 1 second grade, 1 minutes.
Right.
Rather than just try to do 2 first grade and whole 30 going second grade. So it seems like
Really, it's only less.
But we're not going to do that.
Yeah, but like in the past. I don't understand why. Especially if there are like other, but I mean, that's private school.
I think,
Oh, it's possible.
if I can just step in, I think that the proposal that we've heard from Heidi it seems to me is addressing the concerns for next year's kindergarten. Or it has the option to, should it be needed, it's like a precautionary or a second teacher if needed. The issue is between the first and second grade mixed room. So I just want to make sure that I'm hearing that correctly. And I think that that's where it sounds like the issue is. And for that, Heidi's proposed the approach that she has and is supported by Anita. I'm guessing if we haven't heard anything different from Anita, I guess.
Yeah,
speaking
they
for our
presented it
two.
to me, the school did. So Anita and her team presented the first and second grade multi-age classroom,
The approach that,
Yeah.
that you've put forward.
right? Well, they brought the proposal for the first and second grade and then a multi-age classroom, because I didn't even have that on my radar until recently. So,
Came from you, not from them, not.
right, and so that was their solution. And then we talked about, adding both an extra kindergarten teacher and a pre-K, because we want to have universal pre-K across the district. So-
And as all these classrooms are, it's a fluid situation, sometimes more than others, and at certain grades, probably even more so, because kindergarten being one of those examples. If things evolve and the numbers became so large in that first and second grade class that the blended approach wasn't the appropriate approach at that time, we would hear back and say, look, we need to look at this differently. But assuming the numbers stay in the ballpark of where they are, you're feeling like that's the best approach.
Sure. I think a couple of years ago when Miranda Rainier was here at Williams Cone School, we had an increase of students moving into the Williams Cone area. And we actually added an extra kindergarten teacher probably in like September, October.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the timeline was, but if those numbers increase to that level, then of course.
Okay. So,
So here from the beginning, what is driving force for the pre-K at Hartsville? Is it to generate more revenue for school district with the additional students that are registered into the district?
I guess the one thing I would say first to that is it doesn't come at the expense of other decisions. So it's a decision in and of itself. Not, other decisions aren't based upon that. Like there's not going to be a second or third or fourth grade teacher in place of that. It's not an either or situation. This is just a decision that's independent of those and is part of this ongoing strategy to try to offer universal pre-K across the district. So it's the next step in that process. And you looked at, I think you were going to say something to maybe.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, we've been expanding our pre-K and moving towards more and more pre-K, which independent of any other discussion. It's a strategy, it's a plan, it's a movement, it's happening statewide, pre-K being added.
Yes. Advocate for.
But I don't think we're saying if we don't have pre-K there, we're not gonna add another teacher.
We don't have 6 teachers or something and we allocate them as needed. It's these additional teaching roles have been added to help support this and not in spite or taken from something else.
Right. Yep, well,
Yeah. That's probably a discussion for outside of the committee. Did not fair or unfair. I'm not questioning that at all. Just, I think that goes based to how the funding formula is put together, but between the sending student.
I think
and
you would
the
find
home
people
value.
in other towns who said that they get, they don't get it fair because they don't have the high property values. And so I think no, this is really unusual. We don't normally have conversations during our
Yeah, but
committee meetings. I mean, really, that's,
yeah, I can take it. So I appreciate you guys being here. We definitely still want to have an ongoing conversation. I think we'll just probably bring it back to the committee to keep moving forward and wrap up where we are and what we need to accomplish this evening and welcome the feedback though still. So, all right. So with that, did we all, committee members everybody understands the current direction? Does anybody want to make any adjustments? Or- Seeing none, I think we're okay to move forward with it as it is. Okay, thank you. And I appreciate the discussion because there has been a lot of feedback that we've received, and I want to acknowledge that. So thank you all for the discussion tonight. So if we have everything in there at this point, I don't think we're missing anything else. Do we want to take a thumbs up, thumbs down on this is our proposal to go forward to the board? All right. So we should be good for that, and we can work together on what that needs, what the information that we'll share looks like. But thank you for this view, Evan. It's super helpful in this process. So we want. Yeah, our next, we won't have, I don't believe we have another meeting scheduled. Let me double check. Our next,
The next
We
thing
have the
is
budget hearing on the
the hearing with the full board.
yes, yep,
Yeah.
healing with the full board at 6 o'clock prior to the board meeting at 6:30. So the 6 o'clock meeting is a public budget hearing to provide feedback on the budget. The full board will be here, ideally, anyway, and then the vote happens during the
That
regular
same
meeting
day.
that same night. Yep. Yeah. And then, yep. And so and then from there, it would go on the 15th to the district budget meeting that's at the Orion, and pending approval or validation, it goes to the district budget validation referendum on the budgets, or excuse me, the town elections on June 10th. All right. Any more questions? Are we? Yep.
Devin, you got that warrant math all ready to go for those.
Have the warrant math already done, but I'm having Mark Conrad come in on Thursday to double check my work. So, yep, we're good there.
Good nature.
Yeah, I know that.
Right, can I make one last thing?
Yep.
So I think this has been a challenging budget season, and I feel like we've ended up in a good place. We all know the sort of headwinds that we've been facing sort of across the board. So I just want to thank everybody. Just as a member of the committee, I'm really grateful for the process and the deliberation. And Evan, great job.
And I would echo what Hudson had to say, and then also just remind everybody on the committee that we will have it's not scheduled at this point, but we will have kind of an after budget process meeting in which we review this process for this year, what could be done better, differently, improved. So continue to think of that and capture those thoughts between now and probably sometime in late June or July. We'll do that. All right, so we have the audit update, which we got an update already on here, so that will be an extension, but looking to wrap that up shortly for the fiscal year 23 audit, and they'll be rolling into the 24 soon thereafter. And without anything else, I think we are good to go. So we'll call it a night. Thank you very much.